Hello and welcome back to SpriteGuard Plays HyperRogue. We have just about everything that we need. We need to farm up some kills though, so we're going to be on the hunt for an icy land, and a minefield is not going to get us what we want. We are going to be trying to avoid Phoenix Feathers since we already have 25, which makes this land not extremely dangerous, but dangerous enough. Now, of course, when we get into the icy land, we want it to be dangerous because we want to rack up those kills. And we just have to play very carefully, play it a little bit more like a puzzle game. As we talked about in the last episode, I kind of got a little distracted as I was saying this last time, but there's kind of two layers to this game. There is the insight puzzles that are really fascinating, and then there's the execution puzzles, which are kind of more about figuring out what's going on around you and figuring out the correct sequence of moves. It's kind of like the difference between strategy and tactics. And there we go, we can use our Orb of Flash to get out of that situation. And we are racking up those kills. Let's see, we want to line these guys up. And we want to make sure that we are going in a direction that we can continue to go in. There we go. I was having a little bit more trouble than usual trying to scrape those guys off. That's something I run into every once in a while, where I just have a difficult time figuring out the correct sequence of moves to actually line some guys up. So that's something we could be paying a little bit more attention to. It's something that I never think I have to pay attention to because I feel like I should have it down. I feel like most of the time I'm able to kind of intuit it, but I think it's worth remembering that I can't do that 100% of the time and should pay a little more attention to it. But of course, when we have a little choke point like that, it becomes a lot easier. And these fires will actually confuse the wolves, and we can kind of trap them. It'll also attract them, and so we can, we can use that kind of tactically to control where the wolves will actually go. And we can pull them away from ourselves if we get into a situation where we don't want them, and we only need 5 more kills. So we should be able to get that in not too much time. I'm wondering if we can even just wait here. Let's see, there's another one, and another one. We can't really get to that one very easily, though. But he's wandered away, okay. Distracted by the fire. Yeah, because the fire was off-screen, and so that's why he wasn't going toward it. And there's our 100th kill right there. So we should be able to find graveyards now. And it's usually not long before we find one. But of course, I am a very distractible fellow, and so I don't know when we will find one, and I don't know if it will be even close to the first one that we find. But that's just, that's just part of being me. That's something that I have had to get used to, and oh dear. Alright, no problems there. I always get a little worried when there's a couple of enemies coming from almost directly opposite me. Because you can get the pincher attack that's an instant loss, and you can get squeezed up against a wall. I've had that happen even in the crossroads. Now, I'm not sure I want this episode to go on for super long. I have a very busy weekend this week, and I'm a little bit anxious about being able to get everything done. And so probably what we're going to do is we're going to find our way to a graveyard, and we're going to get the Necromancer's totems, and then we're going to find an Orb of Safety and get that Haunted Wood in the next episode. And that will do two things. One, it will save me some time right now, And today's the day that I have to do my taxes, so I'm looking forward to that. No, I'm not looking forward to that at all. I have very mixed feelings about taxes. You know, I am very proud to pay my taxes, and I'm very proud of the things that my taxes support. For the most part, they also support some things I'm really not happy about. But, you know, I see it as just as part of what being a member of a society is. And there's a lot that I dislike about the society that I am a member of. But there's a lot to like, too. So we're going to use the same strategy. You know what? It might not actually be necessary. It's just a habit of mine to do that. We need 10 Necromancer Totems, and, you know, it might be good to keep the crossroads in sight because we're more likely to find an Orb of Safety in the crossroads. Ah, but there's an Orb of Safety right there, so I don't know if we'll be able to find our way back to that. We can certainly try going around it. And you would be surprised how much stuff you can find within 7 steps of an object. And it's actually going to take us much longer to orbit around this Orb of Safety than you might think it would, because kind of an effect of the curvature of the space is that it looks like we're going in circles even when we're not. So it will look like we complete many circles by the time we actually get all the way around the Orb of Safety. Let's see. Not really... I think this one on screen just down to our lower right is a little too far away. I'm not confident I can find my way back. But we can use the high contrast mode to continue our search and see if we can find anything. Now, the graveyard, it's a little harder to find treasure than some of the other lands because we don't have many kills yet, and also, you know, half the tiles, or nearly half the tiles, I guess is probably closer to a third. It's a little hard for me to tell, but quite a lot of the tiles are... Need to concentrate now. There we go. And there it is back on screen. A lot of the tiles are covered up and cannot have treasures spawn on them. And so that makes the spawn rate a little bit lower, I think. Let's see, here's another one where we can memorize the path. There we go. So what I'm doing when I do that is I'm standing in a place where I can see the Orb of Safety on screen. And then I'm taking some steps and memorizing what steps I take to go away from it. And then I just retrace those steps exactly. And so that lets us get some treasures that are a little bit farther away, but I still don't want to go too far away, just because I don't trust myself. We do want to fight these ghosts, and they can move slightly faster than we can, so we can't really run away from them indefinitely. It's the same idea as when you're running away from the rock snakes. We're basically in the same position that the rock snakes are in when they are chasing us. And I'm still... It looks like we're completing our circuit, and we've only found 6 treasures. And so we may have to leave that Orb of Safety behind. But there's still a lot of territory that we can explore. And we can just stay in sight of our blasting area and just watch those uncovered hexagons are really what we want to look at. Alright, this is a little bit worrying. But we're good. There we go. And I may actually have already made a mistake. Ah, no, I see our heptagon. Oh dear, but the shadow is after us. Which way is the shadow going? There we go. So let's see. To pick this up, we have to orbit around this thing. And I'm going to keep an eye on which one it is. There we go. And on one side of this, we could see our blast. There it is. So that's quite tricky, but we managed to do it. So this is the kind of puzzling that I was talking about, where I know what I need to do, and figuring out how to do it is the puzzle. And that's in real contrast to things like the Camelot quest, where I had no real idea how I was supposed to even attempt it for a very long time. And the Ender quest as well. You know, it took me a long time to figure out what it was I needed to do in order to complete it. So let's see if we can find that Orb of Safety. I remember that it was visible somewhere along the edge of this area, but I don't really remember where. And so it's going to be difficult to find. We have those 10 Necromancer totems, so we are really done here. And I'm looking at this. I think there is where I want to move to, and then there. And that will let us kill this ghost. And then this zombie. And then we move over there, kill that zombie and the ghost. And now we just have to kill that necromancer and this ghost. And so I'm going to back away, and I'm going to head into the crossroads, and we're going to find an Orb of Safety in the crossroads, or we find another graveyard and find an Orb of Safety in it. But we're really, we're just looking for an Orb of Safety, which is a position we've been in many, many times before, and we're very accustomed to. We can start... no, we don't want to pick up dead orbs. We actually want to avoid dead orbs, because the achievement we're going for involves, I believe, not using any orbs at all while we are in the Haunted Woods. And so I just want to make sure that the temptation does not exist, and we also cannot cut any trees, which is going to be kind of something that we'll just have to exercise some discipline around. So there we go. Into the Orb of Safety. In the next episode, we will be looking for a Haunted Wood. It looks like we will have a graveyard available to us straight away, and so we'll be able to jump right into that and really start taking on, one of the biggest challenges in the game, and one where we're going to have to combine insight and execution. And I'm not really sure what we're going to do. I have a general idea of how we're going to approach it, but I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's the way that I need to do it, and I don't know if it's going to be sufficient. And I don't know if I can execute it correctly, because it requires a pretty high mental load. Basically, we're going to look for landmarks, and we're going to try and memorize those landmarks, and then we're going to try and orbit around them like we did in the graveyard, trying to find those necromancer totems. So I'm looking really forward... I'm really looking forward to trying that out. And whether we succeed or fail, I consider this expedition a success, just in that we've made it this far, and we have, at that point, I guess, if things end before then I'll be disappointed. But if we can just give this a shot, I'll consider that a success, because, you know, one of the things I used to talk about on this channel a lot, I don't know if I try to talk about it whenever I get the opportunity, is getting in those attempts. You know, one of the phrases I came up with when I was really just starting this channel was, failures are the pencils of success. When you make a drawing, you don't see the pencils when the drawing is finished. What you see is the ink and the coloring, but the pencils are a fundamental part of the drawing. They are what makes the drawing possible. They are what makes the drawing what it is. They give the drawing its structure. Failures are the pencils of success. You have to fail in order to succeed, because that's what gives structure to your success. That's how you learn to succeed. It's how you learn what you need to do, and it gives structure to what you do when you succeed. And so, you know, we failed a lot at a lot of things in this game. We have learned so much from our failures. Now we're going to see, you know, have we learned enough, or do we need to learn more? And if we do need to learn more, by golly, we're going to learn it. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.